Hey guys, it's Mikko from Emil Sound Lab, and this is kind of a different kind of video, hanging out with my very old and good friend John. Something cool that you guys probably didn't know is that we've known each other way before all of this happened, when we were just some kids on forum. We were behind nicknames, but we loved each other's work, we hung out, and now we actually are real people on YouTube making things in this industry. So what we're gonna do is hang out, just have a chat about our favorite guitar tones, things that we don't usually talk about or get to talk about.
Hey guys, John here. I'm from the YouTube channel Sonic Drive Studio, and as Mikko mentioned, we've known each other for years. I think 12 years probably, because I think I bought my first XFX about 12 years ago, and I think we met each other virtually on the Fractal Audio forum, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's what happened, and we were both kind of tone geeks already at that point. All the tracks that you posted, even back then, sounded amazing, and I'm sure that's probably the reason we started, talking. I reached out to people that sound amazing, and that's where we got started out, and IR stuff and all that crazy stuff.
And a lot has changed since then.
A lot has changed. We're grown-ups now. We have kids.
Oh, yeah. And we have way more gear.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember when I got my XFX, when you brought it up, I actually traded my only tube amp for an XFX. And my only tube amp at the time was a Mesa Boogie Mark IV. I traded that for an XFX Standard. They were the similar price at that point, but now you can get one for like $300, and a Mark IV may cost you more than $2,000. So that sucks, by the way.
Yeah. Lesson learned. I don't even have an XFX right now. I just have an FM9, and that's my Fractal.
Oh yeah. I have an XFX 3 for sure. But hey, on topic, we decided we're gonna talk about what are our favorite guitar tones. Yes. Obviously, the list would be very long, but we're trying to limit this to be around 3 guitar tones that most likely people know, but that are special to us personally. So something we have a personal connection with, I suppose. So I'm going to let you think about your first now and think of my own 3 while I add it.
I have my first one ready for you.
Okay, let me know.
I'll tell you about it. So when I started listening to music, at first I started listening to Oasis, which is still one of my favorite bands. That's actually surprising, because
I also listen to a lot of Oasis, but we've never talked about that.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan. They were the ones who, inspired me to start making music and listen to music seriously and stuff. But my brother, he was always listening to heavy stuff, metal and stuff. And then he started playing Metallica in the mid-90s. And then I started being a Metallica fan when I was about 10 years old or something. So around the Load album. So for me, the guitar tones for Load and Reload by Metallica are some of the best tones. I mean, it's not one tone. There's various tones on those records because they used a wide variety of amplifiers. But like the main crunchy rhythm guitar tones on those albums, for me, have a special place in my heart.
man, I have to say, I was afraid you would say the same exact album that I would, because I don't really consider myself a big Metallica fan like you are. Definitely not in that sense, but the Black Album guitar tone is one of the guitar tones that came to my mind. So I'm so happy that you didn't name the same album, by the way. Just so happy.
Yeah. It's a bit different, because I think the Black Album, while it's amazing, it's a little bit more distant, and the drums are way more upfront and ambient. And with Load and Reload, everything is a bit more up close. Yeah, a
crunchier.
Bit more proximity. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And for me, it's probably going to be a little bit different why I choose something as a really good guitar tone. I think it works really well in the mix. And, as you probably know from my history, the way I geek out over these guitar tones, I many times study the stems and stuff like that. So that is, one of those albums of which, when I study the stems, I kind of, when I hear that guitar tone isolated, that is when I start to appreciate it. Like, man, that is a really good guitar tone. Like, something that would really pass today as like a super good modern guitar tone. But this was like 25 years ago or something.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Yeah. I mean, those 3 records, like Black Album, Load and Reload, even Garage Inc., which of course came after Reload, those albums have wonderful guitar tones. So Bob Rock knows what he's doing, I guess.
Oh yeah, I'll throw myself under the bus. I am one of those people who actually likes the kind of the vibe of Saint Anger too. Obviously, the snare is its own thing, but you know, the guitar tones were kind of a really good. Kind of because Metallica, you assume it to be super hard and heavy, but the guitar tones are actually not that heavy. They're almost like overdrive or something like that, a very unique sound and kind of a crunchy thing. So
yeah,
Metallica definitely have some of the best guitar tones for real out there.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to go next for the next one?
Yeah, I mean, that was one of mine. Also, so I'm going to jump to the next one. If we go to metal tones, then one that came to my mind was potentially an album that was very influential for most metal people, and that would be Killswitch Engage, End of Heartache. And once again, I think the guitar tone is loose. It's not tight in the way that people maybe like it today, but in the mix, I think it's very melodic. Like, you rarely hear these kinds of guitar riffs being played, and you actually hear the note definition of what is happening. So that is something that I think when I listen back to the End of Heartache, and that album anyways is one of the best metalcore albums of all time, if I hear that guitar tone, I'm thinking like, you rarely hear guitar so clearly what the guitar players are actually doing. So that is one that came to my mind as
cool.
one that stands out for me, at least.
Awesome. That's a great one for sure.
Have you listened to a lot of Killswitch Engage, by the way?
I have all their albums. I haven't really listened to them religiously. Is that the right word? But I do appreciate them, and I should listen to them more. I have them on my music player and stuff, so I like their music, sure.
Yeah, I think, for me, once again, I'm really not a fan of any band. That is kind of lame to say, but I listen to things that I like to listen to, and that album specifically, and maybe the next one, I can't even remember the name of the next album after that one, but there's 2 albums, I listen to them every now and then. I think the guitar riffs are, while the music is quite heavy, especially now when you go back and listen to those are actually quite melodic bits.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you just thought of it as being super heavy. It's not necessarily that heavy nowadays. I mean, you could play those songs on an acoustic and it would be like a perfect ballad album or something like that.
Yeah.
Just played in the style of metalcore.
So I'm going to go further in time, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And around when White Pony was released by Deftones, my brother bought that album. And at first I was like, what is this? Because I was only listening to, you know, Metallica, Iron Maiden, and more traditional metal.
Yeah.
And I had to get used to their alternative vibes. But then something clicked, and I went to town and bought my own copy because I wanted my own copy instead of using my brother's copy.
Okay.
That album is great, but my favorite guitar tone from Deftones is actually from the self-titled record from 2003. Because that's when Stefan started using baritone 7 strings tuned to A-flat standard, I believe. Yeah, A-flat standard.
Okay.
So it was like really low. It was the same rig, so he was still using Marshall JMP1s back then.
Yeah.
But just with the lower tuned EMG-equipped 7-string baritones. And that was a new thing for me. So it opened up a whole world of going low. And also the chord voicings that Stefan uses with the open strings and stuff. And that's just a huge inspiration for me.
He's definitely a very interesting guitar player where you don't necessarily think of him immediately when you start thinking about like guitar heroes and stuff like that. And his style is so unique that it's recognizable. I'm not sure if he knows any music theory. Probably does, but sorry if that sounds bad. But no. Like you said, the way he plays is very ambient. And even when he's playing like riffs, it's very ambient sounding. I suppose for me, if I would be naming my favorite drum sounds, I'd be going Deftones quite a bit. Yeah, but it's I think his playing style, the guitar player, Stephen Carpenter, right?
Stephen Carpenter, yeah.
It's very loosey-goosey, like a loose kind of a guitar player, and that style is amazing. Yeah. Definitely does his own thing. So yeah, I appreciate that, definitely.
Awesome. You're next.
Oh man, I'm next. I mean, I have to mention John Petrucci eventually because even though I don't really listen to that kind of music anymore, probably all my guitar tone chasing started with being a big fan of some of the guitar tones of John Petrucci. So which one would I kind of put in front of everything else? It's got to be a tie between Train of Thought and Systematic Chaos, the Rectifier tone and the Mark series tone. Notoriously, the Systematic Chaos album from Dream Theater, to be more specific, was the one that was recorded on a Mesa Boogie Mark IV, and the Mesa Boogie Mark IV is my favorite amp of all time. And I think that guitar tone is probably one of the best guitar tones Petrucci ever had. Nowadays, I don't think he's even using a 57, and I'm not a huge fan of the guitar tones he has these days. But in his peak, like that Train of Thought to Systematic Chaos and that era, I think he had some of the guitar tones that were, like, to me personally, so big that they influenced me to even get into guitar tones. So I have to mention John Petrucci. Maybe his solo album might be actually the best one if I have to go there. So a Suspended Animation by John Petrucci. I'm gonna name that above everything because that's sort of somewhere in between, like a Recto and Mark series tone. So that's the one I'm gonna name, just so I can throw the ball at you. Have you listened to like progressive metal that much? Like,
dude, I think in the year 2000 I became a huge Dream Theater fan. I still consider myself a fan or whatever. I'm gonna see them in 2 weeks, I believe. Okay. I just enjoy their music. I mean, there have been some years in between where I sort of drifted away from them a little bit, but yeah, a Train of Thought, that was a huge one for me, also in terms of the tone. I didn't have it in this little small list, but now that you mention it, like, that's a huge one for me. Because it's so sloppy and filthy, which is kind of so different than his very precise Mark tones, you know?
Yeah, and it's almost like it forced him to play differently. He wasn't trying to sound like Metallica, which is, let's be honest, the Petrucci sound is him trying to sound like Metallica, really. That is what it is. That's why he uses a triaxis. Like, I'm not sure if it's in frame. I have a triaxis rig here and Mark IVs here. I'm trying to sound like those guys too, but you know, Metallica, they were the first ones to do it, and that is why he has that sound. So it's kind of almost the same thing as the first guitar tone that we started out with.
I think Train of Thought was like, just as with Saint Anger, it was like their nu metal inspired album, I think.
Oh yeah, I remember Petrucci had like spiky red hair and stuff like that. Always
and the
sunglasses
jeans with all the like straps and stuff.
Oh yeah,
it's crazy. But I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I got into it at that time, and I mean, we went through it. We lived through that era, so I've seen some pictures of myself from that time, and it's not pretty either. So.
Dude, I have one more guitar tone for you.
Okay.
And this I have to mention this. And it's a little bit hard to pick a specific tone because it's a band that every album sounds different, you know what I mean? But I'm just going to pick one for the sake of it.
Yeah.
And of course, I have to pick a Meshuggah guitar tone because Meshuggah's style and tone has been such an influence on me as well.
I mean, when I heard Rational Gaze when I was in high school, like I was in a very geeky high school, everyone listened to Meshuggah or Dream Theater in my school. Yeah. Imagine that. Like,
awesome.
It's so weird. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I would go for Obscene because it's not per se like the best tone that they've ever done, but it's like a good. It was like maybe at their peak, they're still amazing.
Yeah,
but it was like their Ibanez custom 8-string guitars through Line 6 Vedas, so a very like artificial tone. But it works. It works so well, and I love that tone so much, and I had to mention that.
I mean, the first song of that album it's like, it perfectly shows, let's say, polyrhythm djent in a way. Like, I think it's 4/4 all the time, but you don't really notice it. But I'm not really into the newer Meshuggah that much, but Obscene is like, I also love that one a lot. obviously I'm old school, so Stenga and Rational Gaze and all those classic songs are like the poo for me, if you know what I mean. I suppose I have to go Slash then.
Okay, all right.
But I think many people are probably assuming that I'm gonna go with something from the 80s, but when I was a kid, Terminator 2, you lived through that era, so you know. Terminator 2 happened and Guns N' Roses was as big as anything. Like, if nowadays people talk about big influential musicians like Lady Gaga or Taylor Swift or something like that, Axl Rose was that person, and right next to him was Slash, and it was so influential. And I remember as a kid, I would see like on MTV, all I did watch MTV was Michael Jackson and Slash playing together and stuff like that. And big reason why I'm even playing guitar is how cool that era was and how I wanted to be Slash. So for me, probably I listen to User Illusion more than Appetite for Destruction. So I'm just gonna say User Illusion 2 or something like that, and maybe that'll be the best guitar tone from that kind of different kind of guitar tone era.
Cool. I like it. Yeah, I'm not a huge Guns N' Roses fanatic, but Slash is amazing, of course, and his tone is just so pure, just a Les Paul into a Marshall, and you're basically there.
Yeah, I mean? I'm not sure even where the tone comes from. I mean, I have, we have a plugin made of this amplifier, but I have the limited edition Marshall Slash from 1996, so I have his custom head that they only made in 1996, and I have a matching cab for that. And I would say that when you play those, it sounds quite slashy. And I mean, I have lots of Gibsons, but man, I feel like I have to imitate Slash with my hands and play a specific way, have my pick in a different position than I would naturally use. So it's a lot of him actually sounding like him too.
Yeah.
It's not so clear like what Petrucci we can say, like he used a Recto or a Mark series amp or something like that, when with Slash it's definitely more like just playing Slash style.
Yeah.
Like I can't assist someone to get a Slash tone if they don't have the hands for it. To summarize all of this, I think I'd love to see in the comments what your kind of favorite guitar tones are. If there's something you want us to actually talk about regarding guitar tones, that would help a lot too. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you like these kinds of hangs, let us know in the comments. We'll do more. And see you on the next one. I've been Mikko. It's been John from Sonic Drive Studios. If you don't know him, where have you been? Go subscribe to Sonic Drive Studio. He makes amazing content and he's a pretty nice dude as well. So see you on the next video. I've been Mikko and bye bye.